Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to teach you guys about a 1.3 inverse function. So in Malay, inverse function we call it as fungsi songsang. So without wasting time, let's straight away get into the video. Okay, so before I teach you guys about inverse function, you guys must know lah what is function. So whenever we have two things like this, okay, and then let's say inside here we have A and this one is B. Okay, so what is actually a function? From here to here, this is what we call it as a function. And let's say I name the function as f. So how do we write the equation of the function? It's like this: f in bracket A is equals to B. So this is the equation of the f function. Why the equation is like this? Okay, because first you guys just write the function first like f, and inside the bracket you must always write the alphabet over here first and then equals to b. Okay, b comes from here lah. So this is how to write the equation of the function. So how about the inverse function? But before that, what is inverse function? So whenever you have something like this and then you go from here to here, the arrow goes like this. This is what we call as a function, right? So inverse function is basically a reverse lah. You are going to write the reverse function. So from B to A, this is what we call as an inverse function. And how do you write the symbol of inverse function? So in order to write the symbol of inverse function, you guys must follow the symbol of a function. So here I name the function as f, right? So whenever it is your inverse function, you must always write like this: f power of -1. So let's say if your function is g, then the inverse function will be g power of -1. If your function is h, then your inverse function's symbol will be h power of -1. So this is about the symbol of the inverse function. Okay, so how to write the equation of the inverse function? Okay, look at the arrow. Just now the arrow goes from left to right, but now the arrow goes from right to left. So when you want to write the equation, it must be like this. Inside the bracket, you must write this one first, not this. Okay, because now the arrow itself reversed already, so you cannot write this one inside the bracket. Okay, so you must write the b inside the bracket equals to a. So this is how to write the function of this is how to write the inverse function now. Actually, you guys must understand how to do this one. Very important, how to write the function when a diagram like this is given to you. Okay, so this is function, this is inverse function. So now, what if the question gives you a function and then asks you to find the inverse function? How to do that? So that's what I'm going to teach you after this. Okay, so let's say this is the question. Okay, they are giving you fx is equals to 3x minus 1. So find the inverse function. Cari fungsi songsang. So this is the question. How to solve it? Okay, the first step is, when you want to find the inverse function, the first step will always be letting y as fx. This is the first step always. Okay, y is equals to fx. And then continue. If y is equals to fx, what is actually your fx? Your fx is also equals to 3x minus 1, right? So when y is equals to fx, your y is also equals to 3x minus 1. Okay, after this, your aim is to find the x. Must make the x as the subject. So x is equals to blah blah blah. This is what we call as x as a subject. So how to find the x as the subject? You do the basic algebraic lah. From here, anything other than x, which is this 3 minus 1, y, this one all, you have to move it to the opposite side so that you can get the x as the subject. Okay, this is just a basic algebraic. So first let's move this one. When it is a minus 1, when you want to move it to the opposite side, it will become plus 1 equals to 3x. Okay, now is it complete? No, it's not complete yet. Why? Because you want to find the x, not the 3x. So now the relationship between the 3 and also x is a times, right? So when it is a times relation and you want to move it over, when you want to move the 3 over, so it will become a divide. Okay, it will become a divide. So y plus 1 is equals over 3 is equals to x. So now that you got your x, so always remember the first step must be f, always let y is equals to fx. Why it is a y? Because it's always like that. Okay, don't ask me that. It's always a y is equals to fx, and then you just substitute the fx with its value lah, which is 3x minus 1, and then your aim is to find the x. So once you find the x, actually that's it. Okay, actually that's it. So the final step must be, okay, as I mentioned earlier, the symbol of inverse function will be like this, right? It must have the power negative 1. Inside the bracket, it must always be a x. Okay, so what is the final answer? Okay, you do like this lah. Just now the last step, you got this as the answer, right? After you make the x as a subject, you get y plus 1 divided by 3. So you just rewrite it back. But this is not correct lah. Why? Because now your inverse function is in terms of x. So this one also must be x. It cannot be y. So what you're going to do is very simple. You're going to erase the x and then you're going to replace it with x. So that's it. So this is how to find the inverse function lah. Okay, this is how to find the inverse function. Always, the first step is let y is equals to fx, and then substitute the fx with its equation, which is 3x minus 1, and then your aim is to find the x as the subject. Once you're done with that, you're just going to write the symbol of inverse function, and then copy back this into here, but you have to change the y into x. So that's it. That's how to find the inverse function. Okay, let's try another question. Okay, so let's say now you have gx. Now your function is g, not f anymore. So when your function is g, the question asks you to find the inverse function. Cari fungsi songsang. So at last, after you do all the steps, at last your final answer must be g power of negative 1x is equals to something. Why? Because your inverse function's symbol must always follow the symbol of your function. Your function over here is g. So your inverse function must be g power of negative 1. Okay. So what is the first step as I said earlier? So the first step must always be letting y as fx. Right. But in this case, your function is not fx. Your function is gx. So you cannot let your y as fx lah. You must let your y as gx. So if your y is equals to gx, let me highlight this. Okay, if your y is equals to gx, it also means that your y is also equals to 7 minus 2x. After this, what you must do, you must try your level best to make the x as the subject. So how to make the x as the subject? Move the 7 minus 2 to the opposite side. So when you want to, how to move it to the opposite side? Okay, so this is a plus. Nothing in front, it means a plus lah. So when it's a positive 7, when you want to move it over, it will become a negative 7. Okay, a minus 7. Okay, and then how to make x as the subject? Negative 2 is here, right? So it's a times relation. So when you want to move it over, it will become a divide. Okay, a divide. So this will be your answer. Actually, you can change this into 7 minus y divided by 2 is equals to x. Okay, basically this 2 is the same thing. Okay. Okay, once you're at this step, the last step is why, remember or not, what's the question actually? To find the inverse function. What to write over here, you must rewrite this over here, right? But remember, you must change the y into x. So 7 minus y over 2, but then you must change the y into x, so the final answer will be like this. Okay, if you guys don't understand, right, from here, how it become like this. If you guys don't understand this, okay, it's very simple only. Because there is a negative 2 at the denominator, I don't want the negative to be at the denominator, so what I do is, I just multiply the entire thing with negative 1, but not the x lah. Okay, just multiply this thing with negative 1. So when you multiply, it will become negative y plus 7 divided by 2 is equals to x. So it will become like this, right? Why I'm doing this? Because I don't want the denominator to be a negative. What is denominator? The penyebut. Okay, there's a negative, so I don't like a negative at denominator. So I'm going to multiply the entire thing with -1. So this is what I will get. Okay. Are they same? Yes, they are same. The top one, I just write it as 7 minus 1. 7 minus 1 and negative y plus 7 is actually the same thing. It's just that I changed the position. Now I write the 7 in front and I write the y at the back. So that's how I get this. From here, that's how I change into this. Just multiply them with -1. You will get like that lah. Okay. So, is this your final answer? Yes, that's your final answer. So, very easy, right? To find an inverse function is actually very easy. So, let's try another question. Okay, so let's say now the function is in terms of h. So this is the function, and then the question asks you to find the inverse function. Cari fungsi songsang. How to do? Again, the first step is letting your y is equals to your function. This time your function is not a fx or gx, but this time your function is a hx. So you must let y is equals to hx. So y is also equals to 3 over x minus 1. Okay, now what will be your aim? Your aim is to find the x as the subject, right? So first, you're just going to tukar tempat. X minus 1 will come here, and then the 3 you have to write it as the denominator. Once you're done with this, what's your aim is actually to find the x as a subject, right? So there's a -1 here. So how to move the -1 to the opposite side? You have to plus 1. Okay, you have to plus 1. Once you're done until this step, the last step would be, so the last step you just have to find the inverse function. So how to do the inverse function? How to write the inverse function? Basically, I'm going to copy back the entire thing, but change the y into x. Why must change the y into x? Because now your inverse function is in terms of x. So that's why you have to change the y into x. If you look at the final answer, one is fraction and another one is non-fraction. So it's better to make both of them as one function, as a single function. So how do you do that? Okay, here it's a 1 over here, right? So nothing at the bottom. It means there's a divide by 1. So how to make the denominator same? You're just going to times this with x, and also times, when the bottom you times with x, the top also you must times with x. So when you're doing it, your final answer you will get like that lah. Your denominator is now the same. So the top, it already become 3 plus 1 minus x, you will get x lah. So this will be your final answer. It's always better to make your final answer into a single fraction. So this is very easy, right? So I guess the question, if they ask you to find the inverse function, then it's a direct question. So maybe you'll get 1 or 2 marks only. Okay, so now let's try another type of question. Okay, so just now this is what we do, right? From fx, we find the inverse function. Not necessary to always be a f, no, it can be gx, hx, it can be anything. But from function to find an inverse function, this is what we do just now. Okay, there is also another type of question where sometimes they will give you the inverse function and then they will ask you to find the function. So that is what we're going to do here. Actually, the same steps only. Okay, so the first step would be still the same. Just now what you do, what we do over here is, we just let the y as fx, right? So only this step is going to change. Okay, we are going to change the first step. Just now you let y as fx, right? Now you must let the y as f negative 1x, f power of negative 1x. You have to let it like this. So this is the only step that is different from the previous question. The other steps are all the same only. Again, this is also simple, so no need to worry. So what if y is equals to f power of negative 1x, it also means that y is also equals to 3 x minus 4. Where do I get this from? I get this from the question itself. Okay, simple only. Okay, next, your aim is still the same. You're going to find the x as the subject. So how to make the x as the subject? Move the negative 4 over here. So it will become a positive 4. So 3x, it's a times relation. So when you want to move it over, it will become a divide. So you have already made your x into a subject. So now, the question asks us to find the function, right? Given an inverse function, we must find the function. So how to do that? Again, write back the symbol of function is this without the negative one. This is the symbol of function, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to copy back this thing into your final step. But again, the same step, again the same thing lah, where you have to change the y into x. So this would be your final answer. Okay, so let's try another question. Given an inverse function, g power of negative 1x is equals to x minus 7 over 3. And then find gx. Find the function. Okay, this is the question. Let me erase this. Okay, so how to find its function is, the first step is still the same. Letting your y as g power of negative 1x. This is the first step. The following step is still the same. If y is equals to g power of negative 1x, it also means that y is also equals to x minus 7 over 3. So our aim is still the same, to find the x as the subject. So I'm going to straight away do it. It's just a normal algebraic. So I believe you guys are pretty good at your algebraic. So I'm not going to show it again and again. So this is what you will get when you make your x as a subject, right? The very final step is to write your function, which is gx is equals to what? Write back this thing. Okay, write back this thing, but then you have to change your y into x. So it will become 3x plus 7. So what you guys learned today, you guys learned how to find an inverse function when a function is given, and also how to find the function when inverse function is given to you. Next, I think I'm going to make a video on problem solving questions from the entire chapter 1. Okay, so that's all for this video. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.